and we are live. Hi guys, and welcome back to the second episode of the Voicenote, the minisode that goes alongside Glorified Jist, bi-weekly episodes just with me, audio only. Welcome back. Did you listen to the first one? Have you watched or listened to the first two episodes of Glorified Jist? And if you did, what did you think? Oh my gosh, I'm officially a podcaster. The last episode of the Voicenote I did, it was before everything went live. Like I recorded it the day before. So now that I've actually posted everything, it feels like a different... This is like the real first episode. The real first episode. Now that I've put my content out there, I've had feedback, I've seen the reaction, I've seen my view, like I've seen everything. So I feel like now, okay, I know what I'm getting myself into. And well, first let me say thank you. If you are listening to the voice note right now, and if you've listened to any of the Glorified Gist episodes, and even if you haven't, thank you so much for tuning in. Wow. Obviously, as I've said in nearly every episode, I really enjoy podcasts like in my personal life, and to be on the other side and to see how much work goes into it, it's really made me so much more grateful for anybody who decides to take time out of their day to tune in. It's like a reward. It's like a reward for the effort that you put in, and I think people caring enough, regardless of if they know you or not, to tune in and listen to your words, your thoughts, your opinions, your feelings, your stories, whatever it is, it's amazing. I'm so grateful. And I think especially in this day and age when we have such short attention spans, and when people make a lot of content through apps like TikTok, and you've got to be really quick and have a hook and try to get people's attention in 5 seconds. And obviously podcasting is so different in terms of its long form, and it's harder to get people to transition over from an app like TikTok to YouTube or to streaming platforms to listen to you, especially when you're someone like me who hardly has who basically has no social media presence. Like obviously I post online, but I didn't come into this being known or having established a little bit of a following or anything. So people choosing to listen to me, I don't care if I have 10 views or listens or if I have 10,000, I'm incredibly grateful. So let it be known that if you're listening now and whenever you listen, even if it's a year from now, I very much appreciate you. But yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about how I'm feeling now that I've started posting, because I had a lot of nerves and jitters before, but I also feel like the rush to get everything, not the rush because I was intentional about it, but because of how many things I had to get done, and because I had recorded Glorified Gist, the full episode, I had to do the editing, do the clips, and then post everything, post the voice note at the same time. I had 2 days to plan an episode, also live my personal life, and then go back into filming. I feel like I didn't have time to process it all until this week. And now that I've had a little bit of time, obviously not having to go to Les Studio and record and just be able to be at home. And to be fair, it's been a very busy week anyway, but still to be able to just take a bit of time to reflect, I am incredibly proud of myself. I am incredibly proud of myself. I think I have proved to myself that I can do things. And I know it sounds silly because if you know me personally, I feel like I've dabbled in a lot of things in my short, young, dainty life. But I think because I'm not where I thought I would be in life by now, and obviously I've learned that you're never going to feel like you are where you're supposed to be, and life is so unpredictable and you kind of just have to go with it, right? I completely understand that, but part of that to one side, because for so long I was so hard on myself because I didn't feel like I was where I was supposed to be. I'll be honest and say, and this is a bit vulnerable, I'll be honest and say for a long time I didn't feel like I was good enough. I didn't feel like I was doing the right things. I didn't feel like I was in the right places. I wasn't proud of myself. I couldn't even look back on the things I had achieved with gratitude or with what's the word? What's the other word for being proud? I don't know, girl. Let's move on. I couldn't even look back and feel that way because I was so fixated on where my life was and still is, if we're being real. And what I had or hadn't achieved. And I feel like I tried last year in particular, I tried to do a lot of things and didn't really get the result. I just felt like I was constantly drawing blanks, like trying to do this didn't work, trying to do that, right? Can I pivot this way? Can I pivot that way? Blah, blah, blah. And then getting into an incredibly dark, scary place because I just felt like I hadn't achieved anything. Yeah, it did make me feel like I wasn't good enough, to be honest. But to have come out of that dark place, thanks be to God, and to start the podcast and just prove to myself, that I am capable of doing things regardless of how big or small. It's been so helpful. I feel like, is it called confirmation bias? No, that's not what it's called. Basically, there's this thing that if you prove to yourself that you can do something, or you do something, you then trick your mind into believing you can do more things. If you do nothing and you sit around and you wait for life to come to you, then you feel like, oh, I'll never be good enough. But then when you actually follow through on something, you prove to yourself, oh, well, if I did it this time, then I can do it again. If I've done this, then I can do that. If I've done this, blah, blah. And we're only 2 episodes in. But yeah, I definitely feel like, oh, I can do more things. Like all the goals that I had for myself that I put on hold, I'm like, oh, maybe I should revisit that. Obviously, we're taking our time. We're taking our sweet time, because one thing about me, I like to think I could do a million things at once. And I think that's partly how I ended up getting to such a dark place anyway. But I definitely now have a restored belief in myself, and I'm happy. I'm happy about that, and I'm proud of myself. And I definitely feel like I want to now do more things. And I think when I say more things, you know what, yeah, a lot of my goals this year are not traditional for me. Up until last year, was a person who was like, I want to make this amount of money. I want to go to this many countries. I want to hit this many this. I want to do this and that and da-da-da. And by this date and by that date, everything was very timelined and very structured, and I needed to be able to quantify it. And now my goals are a lot more chill and more centered around like how I feel on the inside and what makes me happy versus what I feel like I should be presenting. I hope that makes sense. And yeah, so like one of my goals this year was to actually put myself out there and socialize more and be in spaces that I feel like I want to be in but have not pushed myself to be in. Guys, if I'm being honest, yeah, I feel like I've tricked myself into thinking I'm a really social person, and I don't know if I am. I think I would describe myself as an ambivert. That's what they call it, right? Half introvert, half extrovert. I think I do have like a big personality, and I can be very joyful and playful and lighthearted. But I think I reserve that side of me for the people closest to me. And I think I've been very lucky that I've been able to maintain the friendships I have for a very, very long time, and I have quite a few good relationships with people. And so because there's several people around me and they have been around me for a long time, I think in my head I'm like, yeah, I'm social. Like I've got this friend over here and that friend is completely different to that person over here, and I've kind of always been like that, having like loads of different friends and doing loads of different things. And I think it's made me feel like, yeah, I'm really out there. But I've been around the same people for a really long time, and that's not bad. I think it's even a testament to how much my friends and I nurture and nourish our friendships, for us to be able to be so different and change so much as we grow up, and still feel connected to each other. It's definitely a positive. But I think as I've gotten older, and especially last year after I came out of my depression, I started to realize that just as much as there are parts of me that the relationships I have right now, and that's friendship, familial, all things, that they're centered around, there are also parts of me that I've started to discover and started to enjoy and want to delve more into about myself that I'm not around people to do. And obviously you can do it independently. I definitely think I do I definitely think I do it independently to whatever capacity I have as an individual. But I want to be around like more different people who align with just other parts of me. And I feel encouraged to do that, and I feel confident enough to do it. How that's gonna come about, I have no idea. Maybe the podcast will be one of the avenues. We'll have to figure it out. But I definitely feel encouraged to go out there, step out of my little bubble, and find the things and the people and the spaces that align with this version of myself. If I can start a podcast with zero resources, and let me tell you guys, when I say zero resources, it is zero. It's literally using the things that I have and the being blessed by the people around me is what I can say in terms of support and stuff. But yeah, if I can do this with not much, then I can go and put myself out there in new places with new people, and I'm looking forward to that. So somebody please hold me accountable. Somebody asked me in like 3 months, oh, have you done something new and being around new people? I don't know what the question is going to be, but and another thing about zero resources or few resources, that's just another reason why I'm so proud of myself, because if I can pull off the product that I have now, in terms of we're starting to build with branding, I'm posting on the social media, I have 2 cameras that I'm switching between, I know the audio isn't perfect on the full episodes, I'm just a girl, I need to stop treating the microphones like accessories and actually use them properly as they're intended to. I think you'll be able to hear the difference between now when it's audio only and full episodes where there's also a camera, and I'm just so focused on the conversation and the camera and not so much the mic. But yeah, if I can build this product with such little resources and just this brain of mine, darling, you wait. You wait until I have more time, more money, a bigger audience. Like, I'm telling you, I'm excited for myself because I know how polished I can be. I know how like creative I can get. I know how I can put things together. I just need, what's that saying? What's that meme? I just needed a platform. Like, I'm telling you, once I get there, oh, wait, me, unstoppable. But yeah, that's just where I'm at right now, how I'm feeling. If you don't know, I should have even introduced it properly, but the Voicenote are minisodes to Glorified Jist, and they're just me just speaking about whatever's going on in my head, in my mind, and in the world. They're not structured in the way that Glorified Jist is. I don't have to do thorough research, plan it out with a guest properly, find a citation, have a pillow talk. Like, it's just me. We're just vibing. But something that I did want to talk about actually was Love Island, guys. Wait, let me sit up because I'm even slouching. Yeah, so something that I did want to talk about was Love Island, because the past few episodes of Love Island have been incredibly uncomfortable as a black girl, a black woman, if I'm being completely honest, right? One of the reasons why I actually started the podcast and why I reference reality TV a lot, internet discourse a lot, popular culture a lot, is because reality TV in particular, I think is one of the greatest insights into society from like an outward perspective. Like, okay, yeah, these people, if we're talking about Love Island, they're in South Africa right now or Mallorca, and I know, for example, the Traitors, they're just in Scotland and it's only like 10 to 20 people. But you really see how dynamics that exist in society show up even in the most confined spaces. And for the most part, it's enjoyable, it's lighthearted, it's funny, it's just people living out their lives and just kissing a bunch of frogs, right? But then every once in a while, it's like a mirror to what your day-to-day experience is. And that can be uncomfortable, especially when you see not only how you felt before, but also like an outward perspective of how you know you've been treated by other people. And yeah, it's weird, but let me not talk in riddles and give you guys a lowdown. So currently, Love Island All Stars is on. We're on season 3. Whitney is on it. So she was on Love Island 2 years ago, and she was coupled up with Locken. They just broke up, or not just, but earlier last year. Shaq's on it. Shaq was with Tanya on, I think it was the first winter Love Island they had. I think it was definitely a winter season. There's a couple other people like Millie, who was with Liam, Bel Hassan, who was on that iconic season of Love Island, the one with Anna, Yewande, Amber. Although Belle wasn't like one of the main characters, she was in that season. Yeah, there's a couple people on it. It was definitely a strong lineup, I would say. So last Thursday, so on the 22nd, they're playing a game of Never Have I Ever. You know, all these drinking games that they be doing, right? Someone asked the question, never have I ever wanted to kiss someone in bed but didn't. So Shaq takes a drink, and he basically says that he wanted to kiss Helena, who was on the last season of Love Island, and my God, what a mess. He wanted to kiss Helena, but he didn't because he was coupled up. Was he coupled up with AJ? I think he was coupled up with AJ, and he just wanted to keep it respectful. And how he also wanted to kiss Belle in the secret garden, but he didn't because he was coupled up with Helena. So Shaq and Helena are having a little bit of a back and forth, and then Whitney gets involved, and she says, oh, well, this is why I don't kiss two people at one time. When I say she gets involved, it's not like she piped up, she piped in. She just said it. She probably said it loud enough for people to hear, but not like, well, this is why you don't, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't, that's not the energy it was given. But that's what she says. And then Shaq and Whitney then get into a back and forth like, oh, what did you say? Say what you're saying. If you're going to say something, say it out loud. Oh, I didn't say anything. No, it's not that, blah, blah, blah. And then at some point, Belle gets involved. And I think at this point, Belle and Shaq are coupled up. And she kind of sticks up for Shaq, but kind of is still on Whitney's side. Was just like, yeah, well, basically, Whitney's right, but Shaq's right too. Like, me and Shaq kept it respectful, basically. So then Shaq, in response to Whitney, says something like, right, that's that, or he says something like, right, or right, that's all, or something, blah, blah. He was speaking like, vaguely speaking past, but I don't know if you can call it that. Definitely in a Jamaican accent, whatever. And then Whitney says, don't Jamo me. Excuse him, what? Bruh, when I hear the word Jamo in 2026, my head is hot. I definitely consider Jamo a derogatory word. It's not, I wouldn't go as far as saying it's like a slur, but I will say that when it's used, it's never used in a term of endearment. It's more like, you know, them people over there, like that kind of way. Like, oh, you know, I don't even want to use other ethnicities or races. I don't want to even give an example because I don't want anybody to be coming for me, and those words are not in my language anyway. Anyway, she uses the word Jamo, and instantly I just get the ick. I feel like, especially in Black British culture, we have had the discourse and the conversations years ago about why Jamo is offensive and the tone in which it's used. And we've been there, we've done it. So anytime I hear that from a person within a Black British person, shall I say, I'm like, you've been there for the conversation and you're choosing to use it anyway. It kind of tells me how you feel about Jamaican people, and I would even go as far as saying how you feel about Caribbean people, because we know how it goes. I feel like in the UK, unless you're within the Caribbean community, people will always assume you're Jamaican anyway. So Jamo, one for all, one for Jamo. Do you know what I mean, right? So that really pisses me off. And before anybody's like, oh my God, she's coming for Whitney, don't worry, I'm gonna drag Shaq too, but we just have to get there. That really pisses me off, and I feel like it kind of hindered me from being entirely on Whitney's side as the situation unfolds, right? I will say that Shaq was being weird to Whitney in terms of he was definitely coming at her with a lot of, I'll be honest, I'll say like aggression or a lot of vim in comparison to how he came at the other islanders, particularly the white girls, right? And this is what I mean when like seeing your lived experience play out is uncomfortable. Like, I feel like if you're a black girl, you know what it's like to have a black guy speak to you in a particular way, with mad aggression, and then turn to somebody who's white or just like non-black, and then all of a sudden they know how to speak to a woman. You know what I'm talking about. But yeah, at that moment, I'm so irritated. It's like Whitney's giving me the ick, because I'm like, ew, like for that to be in your lingo, that to me is weird. And what I found interesting was when I came online and I didn't really see anybody talking about it. I saw one comment on TikTok and a screenshot of a tweet, but for the most part, nobody was really focusing on the Jamo comment, and people were just really on Whitney's side in support of how she was spoken to by Shaq. And that is a weird place to be, because, and I guess this is a conversation about intersectionality, right? Intersectionality is basically a social theory by someone called Kimberlé Crenshaw. She's a black woman, and she says that different parts of your identity affect how you experience life and what discrimination you experience and what privilege you'll have, for example. So, for example, a white person will have different experiences in society compared to a black person, but then also a black woman has different experiences to a black man. And then if we narrow it down again, a black Caribbean woman might have different experiences to a black Caribbean man, or a black African woman might have different experiences to a black Caribbean woman, that sort of thing, right? Basically, your social makeup, your social and political identity impact how you're treated in society, right? So obviously I've come online, and for the first time ever, for the most part, people are in defense of a black woman. If you've ever watched any sort of reality TV show, or even fictional characters, to be honest, black women are absolutely dragged through the mud and are called aggressive and are painted with the angry black woman trope over and over and over and over and over again. It's constant. We've seen it day in, day out. Show me a black woman and I can show you an example of where she's been labeled an angry black woman, right? They even go as far as trying to do it to Meghan Markle, and that is basically a white lady. Like, come on. Anyway, it was a weird feeling to see Whitney be so supported online and be so happy to see that, like, a black guy's being called out for the way he's spoken to black women, because that we never get that sort of support. And then also being like, well, the black women who they're supporting use the word Jamo, and that is a bit weird, and nobody's really calling out. And I guess maybe it just like was in the moment. I think sometimes you have to pick things for the greater good. Okay, we're finally getting people on our side, so let's allow the Jamo conversation and let's just all ride for Whitney. If that was the case, fair. But all I'm saying is that word rubbed me the wrong way. The next day, before the next episode came out, I watched back the last 10 minutes of Love Island. This episode is seeming to be way longer than I wanted it to be, so let's make it quick. But yeah, I went back and I watched the last 10 minutes, and I think then I was truly able to see the amount of vim Shaq had for Whitney, in comparison to how he spoke to the white girls, particularly Sammy. Like, he was like, yeah, exactly, blah, 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 to Whitney. And then to Sammy, he was like, oh, so basically, like, what I'm trying to say, darling, is like, the tones were just completely different. He definitely was treating her differently. And then for Jess, who is a white girl who's close friends with Whitney, to call out Whitney in a moment that didn't make sense and try to embarrass her, and then turn around and be like, oh, I'm just joking, or oh, and then someone else jumped into Whitney and was like, why are you shouting, and blah, blah, blah. Like, she was literally painted as an angry black woman. It was textbook. Like, this was the perfect example of what it is like to be a black girl in spaces where most of the people don't look like you, and if they look like you in terms of skin color, they are not like you in terms of gender, and that makes a big difference. And then the episode then goes on to, there's another black girl in there called Leanne, and she doesn't really say anything in defense of Whitney. And then I think as a black girl, you watch that and it's like, well, if that was me, I would definitely jump in. But then it's also like, sometimes you get so sick of having to be the one that comes to the defense, and you should be able to, you know what, it's just, guys, go and watch the episode, because I feel like when you see it, it will make more sense. But it was an uncomfortable watch. Even the guy that Whitney was coupled up with, or getting to know, shall I say, Jack, he's the son of some guy from Boyzone, I don't know the name. He then, instead of defending Whitney and saying that, oh yeah, this is the girl I'm coupled up with and she hasn't been supported by anybody, he then starts to say, oh yeah, well, I didn't like the way you come across and it's really put me off and blah blah blah. It's just so weird and so uncomfortable, but not weird, because for a lot of us, it's their lived experiences. And as frustrating as it was, I think it was so timely because it reminded me exactly why I started Glorified Jist. I think that obviously, as we've gotten older, we've started to see more representation in terms of black women in media, but there are still areas in which I don't feel super represented, whether that's me being Gen Z, whether that's me being of Caribbean descent, whether it's the topics I like to delve into, whether it's the sociology element of and making sure that we encourage critical thinking. Like, there's so many areas where I don't feel like I'm represented. And watching Love Island, that episode, those 2 episodes, were a demonstration of what it looks like when you're not really surrounded by people who are like you and who understand you or create a safe space for you. And Glorified Gist is that. Glorified Gist is for the black British girl. It's for the black British girl of Caribbean descent. It's for the girl who loves sociology and who thinks these things are so deep and so important and wants to have these conversations, but doesn't feel like spaces like Twitter or TikTok are the spaces to have them, because you're mixed up with people who truly don't want to understand and are being intentionally obtuse and missing the point. And black girls who have been disrespected by black guys but still take the time to protect their image and try to disarm situations, as Whitney did to Shaq, if anybody noticed, and feels like they don't really get shit for it, because at the end of the day they still receive microaggressions and get painted as angry black women and are tired of it. So just know that if you're listening to this and you're a black girl or a black woman or a black young adult, this space is for you. You are represented and loved here, and you are understood here. And I hope as the podcast grows, you see what I'm trying to create for who I'm trying to create it, and you feel loved and you feel seen and you feel represented. Even more so if you're a black British girl of Caribbean descent. I hope a lot of people listen, and I hope this becomes a safe space for loads of people. But just know, at the forefront of everything I do will be representation, care and love for the people who look just like me and have the experiences that I do. So yeah, I feel like I didn't get to do a good job of breaking down the Love Island situation, because I was looking at the time and I was like, wow, this episode's a lot longer than it's supposed to be, and it's a minisode. But who knows, maybe I will talk about this a bit more on the episode of Glorified Gist next week, because I'm sure there'll be some Love Island discussion. Maybe I'll make a Substack, guys. I have an account, so you can go and follow me, Janelle Asher, on Substack, but I have not written anything. I was going to say I haven't had the time, but I would just say I haven't taken the time. I need to be more intentional about writing, because writing is something that I would love to get into. I love to read. I love to journal. I put thoughts in my notes all the time, and I definitely this year want to tap into writing. I think I'm really well written as well, better than speaking, because I got a little starter going on, as you guys can tell. And yeah, that's something that I want to tap into. But this episode is way longer than I intended it to be. I'm recording this late on Monday. It needs to go out on Tuesday, but I have work tomorrow, so I've got to shook and jive and make it work. So I'm going to go. But thank you for listening to the second episode of the Voicenote, the first official episode of the Voicenote. If you've gotten this far, thank you for spending this time with me. Let me know what you think. Comment down below. Did you watch Love Island? What did you think of the situation between Shaq and Whitney? If you don't watch Love Island, why don't you watch Love Island? What shows do you like? Put me onto some shows. I don't know, guys. Tell me how your day's been. Who cares? Just let's interact in the comments. Engagement means a lot, and it really helps boost the podcast. If you're on YouTube, then make sure you like, comment, subscribe and share. If you're on Apple Podcast or Spotify, then please rate the podcast, leave a comment, whatever you want and feel like you need to do. I'd be grateful. You can follow Glorified Gist on Instagram and TikTok and keep up with us in terms of what's going on behind the scenes, when episodes are dropping, what the topic's going to be about, and who the guests are. And you can keep up with me, Janelle Asher, on Instagram and TikTok at Janelle Asher. Ooh, this promo stuff is a lot, but I'm going to keep pushing it, because I need to create a space for people like me so they feel represented, and that means going hard in terms of my promotion. So that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, I have loved talking to you. Let's see how long this edit takes, and I will see you next week, or maybe before next week if I catch you on social medias. Love you guys. Bye.